Tradition. You can't buy it. It's earned the hard way over decades and eras. On the field, on the road, in the mud. With guts and with grit, and firm belief that today could be our day. The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup is back. Still alive, still kicking, the oldest prize in American soccer. 96 teams, part-timers to major leaguers. Survive and move on, lose and you go home. So we call all underdogs, dreamers and believers. And we ask you again, one simple question. Are you up for the cup?
And we welcome you to Charlotte, North Carolina. Two teams separated by 87 miles clash in the second round of the 2025 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. It's MLS Next Pro's Carolina Core visiting USL League One Charlotte Independence alongside Eric Dobransky, Michael Watring, and our team with you here tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Charlotte, USL League One team. This is their 9th U.S. Open Cup appearance in club history. They went as far as the round of 16 back in 2015. This is a group that is no strangers to the U.S. Open Cup landscape. Conversely, for Carolina Core, they're in just their second year, but they had great success last year. They were one of the 3 MLS Next Pro teams to reach the third round, and they are one of the 7 remaining teams in this year's field. As we close in on kickoff, we introduce the starting 11s for these two sides. From the first U.S. Open Cup matchup, Charlotte, 4 changes, 3 changes for Carolina. What are you watching for?
Two teams that want to set the tempo early and make their opponent adjust tactically, and who on each of these sides is going to set that tempo and pace. Carolina Core, Rodriguez was electric last time out. The brace, the assist, and then Jacob Evans, so clever on the ball, adds a different dimension to the attack. Independence, Alvarez, that creative heartbeat for Charlotte Independence's midfield, and then Nick Spielman at center back. He's going to have to organize his team defensively and then showcase that composure playing out of the back. Both these teams are going to want to be sturdy and steady collectively defensively.
So we're closing in on kick here today at Charlotte, playing host in this matchup at their old playing surface. They played here for 5 years and have since transitioned over to American Legion Stadium. But tonight they are back where it all began for this group at Mecklenburg Sports Complex in Matthews, North Carolina. Dynamic facility, excellent place to watch a match, and we're grateful that you've decided to spend some time with us here tonight in the U.S. Open Cup. One of the 6 games on this Tuesday night. Tomorrow will be the jam-packed day with 10 games across the U.S. Open Cup landscape. Our official tonight is John Rush, as he will be the man blowing the whistle for these two groups this evening. It's not just the players, it's the coaches, it's the organization that have plenty of U.S. Open Cup experience. And we're going to find out here tonight. Two teams that slightly different paths. Carolina controlling Soda City. Meanwhile, Charlotte Independence, they trailed a couple times, including an extra time against Long Island Rough Riders before they escaped that 3-2.
Yeah, and Mike Jeffries had mentioned that for the U.S. Open Cup, some of the standard rules don't necessarily apply, and it came to that matchup. And Donovan Ricketts had mentioned it when we spoke to him this week, was this tournament is all about just advancing, and it's not always going to be pretty. It's just finding a way to advance, and obviously they did it comfortably with that 4-2 win, and obviously Charlotte Independence had a different path.
Carolina out in the orange, yellow, and green kits. It's the white and blue for Charlotte Independence as these two clubs square off for the first time officially here this evening. John Rush checks the watch, blows the whistle, and the second round of the U.S. Open Cup underway here in the Tar Heel State. Charlotte Independence and Carolina Core squaring off tonight. Yeah, Donovan Ricketts, we spoke with him. They didn't officially meet in any kind of matches, but they've played a bunch already. They've played a couple 60-minute matches, a full 90-minute match during the preseason to get ready for the year.
I was going to say, typically what we're used to and accustomed to seeing in the Open Cup is those unique matchups. Those, obviously you get some of those rivalries, those matches that have just meant so much over the time, but not typical. You'll see them every week and see them per year. But these are two teams that have got to be fairly familiar with each other, obviously only separated by not too far of a distance, and making sure that, you know, when we spoke to Donovan Ricketts, they had played quite a bit through preseason. So obviously you're going to get a bit of a different look than you would typically, but showcase some, not formations, because obviously these are two teams that are set identity-wise, but maybe just showcase a little bit of a different squad rotation or different look here and there.
Carolina had picked up all but 2 of the points in their road matches over the last 6 prior to losing to NYC FC 2 on March 24th. Meanwhile, the Charlotte group, they're 4-3 at home as this ball's taken away. Alvarez with an empty net capitalizes off the Pannenberg giveaway and scores the opener less than 2 minutes in.
And when you're playing in single elimination matches like the US Open Cup, being opportunistic but also being relentless with what you're doing individually and collectively, and Alvarez showcases just that, just never stops running. The ability to put Carolina Core under pressure. Turn really a casual moment into a game-changing goal for Charlotte Independence.
It's not something you would expect from Andrew Pannenberg, one of the more experienced keepers in MLS Next Pro, 26 years of age, went to Wake Forest and makes this mistake in this one. And Luis Alvarez, much credit goes to the 22-year-old from Honduras as he scores for the 2nd time in his career in the Open Cup. He also scored the 3rd in that 4-4 draw. They eventually won in PKs against Rhode Island in last year's 3rd round. Now how does Carolina respond after that? Have to be shell-shocked after conceding a goal just like that.
Yeah, sometimes conceding an early goal does settle you down just a bit, just from the standpoint of you kind of look at it, you couldn't have started any worse. So you're playing a goal down. Now you're really forced to adjust and pick up the tempo. You're not changing the identity. You're not changing tactically your setup or the way you want to play. You want to keep the ball on the ground. You want to keep it moving. You want to break through lines. But now you probably play with a bit more urgency to start this first half again.
Juarez does keep it in, but Charlotte clears. Cheney bounces that ball off of Covey, and a throw here for Charlotte Independence. In the first round matchup, Carolina had 71% possession against Soda City. And maybe with Pannenberg being the starter in the Open Cup, Sutton's the starter during the regular season in MLS Next Pro, he didn't get tested very much in that match against Soda City. The 2 goals that Soda City scored kind of came from out of nowhere in that one.
And obviously in that first matchup, coming into time where it was 4-0, and I'm not excusing conceding 2 goals late, but as you mentioned, kind of came out of nowhere. Obviously Soda City was pushing to pull some goals back. Obviously got an absolute banger from about 35 out that beat Pannenberg. Overall, collectively, we're quite solid defensively. It's a bit of a stunning start playing out of the back for Carolina Core.
Cuevas sprints to the middle. Cuevas gets knocked away by Nick Spielman. Now Reggie, well, he The young stars of USL League One. Has this ball taken away in the back by Covey. Carolina playing on the front foot here. Evans goes wide, now gets the return pass as he recycles. Here's Charles. Daniel Chica. Juarez curls it through. Evans was the closest target. And it ricochets out along that far sideline for a throw here for the court.
Good balance in that sequence, just needed a different service from Juarez. And Nick Spielman and this back line for Charlotte Independence are going to have to keep a continuous eye on that front three. I mean, they were absolute menaces against Soda City. Jacob Evans had a goal. Rodriguez, we talked about, had the brace and the goal. Rodriguez has 4 goals in 4 US Open Cup appearances. Isn't a regular starter in their MLS Next Pro season.
Pannenberg aggressive here. Cheney was sprinting through the middle and Pannenberg knocks it away.
And on top of that, and then Canetti was terrific as well.
This ball rolled nicely forward. It is Cuevas. Cuevas taps it, and wow, what a save to start off the night by Matt Levy. That's a confidence booster for Matt Levy. He was one of the 4 changes that Charlotte made for tonight's match from the first round game. Cuevas goes wide once more. Juarez. Cuevas tries to knuckle it around Sis, unable to do so. Evans chips it. Mike DeShields clears it away. It's a fascinating matchup when you look at the experience levels within these two teams. You have some of the older players in MLS Next Pro that Carolina Core have in the Facundo Canetti's at 25 years of age. Pannenberg, we mentioned 26. You have some of the early 20 years of age players. And then you look at Charlotte, they have some super young players, but they also have guys that have played at high levels in the USL Championships in DeShields and John Baccaro and company. Rodriguez. Evans. Juarez. Here's a long shot that whistles wide. That was Canetti, actually. Let's take another look at that play defensively and this effort by Matt Levy.
And you have to like the response from Carolina Core, their ability to play through lines, the rhythm and the fluidity that they're displaying on and off the ball. They've come alive since conceding that opening goal.
Matt Levy, 25 years of age, went to Florida International. And squirts out for Carolina throw. Excellent start in this one, and MLS Next Pro off to a good start tonight. If you're looking around at the table, you see Columbus Crew with a 2-0 advantage at home against Lexington of the USL Championship. That's got 10 minutes to go in that one. Owen Prestes scored in the 7th minute, and Christian Ortiz has scored in the second half. The other match, Tormenta and Foro being played, and Tormenta have the lead, 1-0. This ball rolled into the middle, a whiff, but a second chance is not a whiff. And how about this? Yoshua Rodriguez scores for his 5th goal in his 5th appearance in the US Open Cup. And it's a seesaw start, 10th minute, tied at 1.
It's just incredible the impact that Rodriguez continues to have for his team in the US Open Cup. Obviously, this ball makes its way through to this far post. But that's having a nose for goal. That's putting yourself in the right positions. What a response from conceding so early. You just don't know how teams are going to respond. You can easily put your head down, easily struggle to find that rhythm and that routine. But you saw it. They got back on the ball. They got back to what they were comfortable doing. And it has paid off.
Joshua Rodriguez has only played 24 minutes in MLS Next Pro. In the first round of the Open Cup, 2 goals and an assist, and 10 minutes in to round 2, he's added another goal. 5 goals, 5 apps, just a delightful player when the stage hits. And Donovan Ricketts told us when we spoke with him, he said he's the perfect example of when your number is called, you need to stay ready and provide value. And he's the kind of player right now that is tapping on Donovan Ricketts' office door and saying, hey, I deserve more minutes no matter what competition we're playing in.
100%. And to that point with Donovan Ricketts, some of the toughest asks is to do it at the forward position, because you're counting on delivery, you're counting on service, you're counting on timing, the relationships. And you could do a lot in practice. You could try to mimic as many of these game-like situations as you can, but until you're doing it in real time, you can't replicate it. And for Rodriguez to step in and show out every single time that he's been on the stage of the US Open Cup, just phenomenal. And again, speaks to the professionalism of not only him, but the group as a total.
Well, if these opening 10 minutes are any sign of what is to come here tonight, buckle up. This is going to be a fun one this evening in the U.S. Open Cup second round. Charlotte Independence won on the goal from Alvarez, and nearly another giveaway from Pannenberg and company. And then in the 10th minute, Rodriguez scores.
And this might be where Charlotte Independence look to punish Carolina Core, is their ability to press and guard in certain areas defensively and force those turnovers. You saw it with the early goal from Alvarez. Never stopped his run, pressed Pannenberg into a difficult situation, and now out of the build, put yourself in good position, structure, good spacing.
Crossed in, Cheney tries to get a piece. No second chance here for the Independents, but an excellent defensive effort takes it away. Bashir Njai sprints, and offside. The flag goes up.
Offside flag is up.
Both sides playing with quite the sense of urgency in the opening moments of this second round matchup.
Another key factor when you play these single elimination matches is individual performances, winning individual battles in key moments. And you've got to do it consistently. And right now, you're getting some key performances on both sides that are beginning to influence the momentum and the rhythm of this game. We're only in the 14th minute.
Two organizations that have had success in this tournament, both trying to get to the next round. In the round of 32, it'll be the 16 remaining USL Championship teams that'll be left. Good touch by Cheney. Pannenberg clears this one better this time around. It's a really good touch by Cuevas. Asking for a handball, they will not get it. Inga takes it away. Turned into a really pleasant night here. 68 degrees is your temperature, not a lot of wind either. dip down towards the low 60s by the end of the night. Can't ask for anything better for the start of April. Second round match in the Open Cup. Charlotte Independent's first match was played in primarily fog against Long Island. It was tough to see at times. Juarez takes it away, tries to bend it back, and draws the foul. Anthony Sorensen, the 22-year-old from Ann Arbor, rather.
These are going to be some of the moments that both these teams want to make sure they're tightened up, they're detailed as in transition. When you turn the ball over, and it's going to be about where you turn the ball over. If you can turn it over in areas where you can recover and slow down play, obviously that being a foul on Sorensen, but making sure that neither of these teams can find momentum and pace with their ability to win possession and quickly go down the field.
Well, the 16 matches here in the second round, 8 are being hosted by USL League One teams, including Charlotte. MLS Next Pro only have 2 teams on the road. That's Carolina Core, and then later tonight it's LAFC 2 going to AV Alta. Alvarez runs away from the pressure, keeps the ball alive. The goal scorer in this one for the Independents starts this transition. Inside of the 18, this pass crossed in. Alvarez taps it over. This time it's Pannenberg with a denial. Maybe a chance to transition for Carolina off of the save from their keeper. Both keepers have made kick saves to deny great scoring chances.
I was going to say we're seeing special play in both boxes, and it's coming from crafty buildup from both teams, whether it's the through ball that was saved earlier or that by Pannenberg. Both goalkeepers have already made game-changing saves.
Great atmosphere here in Matthews, North Carolina, to watch this one. Donovan Ricketts knows about goalkeeping and that 100 caps with Jamaica, played in the MLS with multitudes of teams. We asked him what he wants to see improve as the year goes along, and he said, well, you're asking a goalkeeper. What do you think I want to improve? It's the defending, and despite the mistake by Pannenberg early, he gets the save here in the last couple moments. Canetti. Evans. Throws Chica into space. And that pass behind. How about this stop, though, by Pannenberg? It's great ball movement, though, by Charlotte.
It is quick, decisive, clever. Look at this little layoff right here. And that is terrific play from Charlotte Independence, just met by even better goalkeeping. And I can't speak enough to the 2 saves that both these goalkeepers have made thus far. And going back to what you were talking about with Donovan Ricketts, and I would say this about both these teams, defensively, 2 teams that have built a structure that is hard to break down. Obviously, we've seen a wide open match right now, but I would add to that where it's 2 teams that value defensive structure turning into attacking moments. And they both have back lines and defenders that take a lot of value and a lot of pride of being attacking outside backs or center backs. You see it from both sides, their ability to play make, whether it's on the dribble or their ability to that passing range to spray a ball wherever they need to and want to.
First 20 minutes in the books of this match, and we have not been able to settle in yet. 2 minutes in, Alvarez steals a ball from Pannenberg and scores for Charlotte to make it 1-0. Less than 10 minutes later, just before the 10-minute mark, Juarez crossed the ball through, and Joshua Rodriguez scored for the third time in this tournament, finishing right on the doorstep. And both keepers have made kick saves sandwiched around those moments. Tied at 1, second round matchup here in Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Michael Watring, Eric Dobransky, and our team. Great to have you on board. Delightful pass again through the middle. Now Reggie curls it, and it's just wide left. It's another dynamic attacking chance.
Shot is wide of the mark.
And you know what's intriguing is we've seen possession flip after each of them have scored a goal. I mean, we saw the early goal from Charlotte Independence, and then Carolina Core seemed to just get really comfortable on the ball in the build. Then they score, and then now Charlotte Independence has ramped up their pressure. You can see the levels starting so much higher. They're climbing the field, being collective with it, turning Carolina Core over, and now they've seen a lot more of the ball.
Charlotte looking to regain the lead. Here's this cross over Jauregui. A whiff on that, and finally cleared by Cuevas.
I'll say that for both these teams, what has made this game so exciting just 22 minutes in is this is a game that has not lacked bravery. I mean, both these sides, whoever gets on the ball, I mean, they have one thing in mind, and that's how can I play forward? Where do I want to go? How do I want to get there?
You have two teams very much playing to win, not to survive and advance. They are very much playing to be at their best, score as many goals as they can, and be aggressive. Excellent steal here by Njai. He continues his run, dives forward, cannot get ahead to it. Cheney curls, turns, and tosses. And it's Pannenberg with another save.
I mean, these two goalkeepers have got to be looking at this game and saying to themselves that I'm going to stay very busy tonight. I mean, Cheney, the quick release, the quick decision. But to your point just a few moments ago, two teams that are obviously understand what's at stake. But a lot of the times when you play these single elimination matches and such a stake of a U.S. Open Cup, you see some safety, you see some casual play where you just want to play side to side.
Here's Cuevas winding up. Evans brings it back. Evans hooks it around. Juarez with a great juggle, but steams this ball high and over the top.
It will be a goal kick for the Jacks.
And that is not what you're seeing from both these teams. Sometimes you see players that don't want to be the player that makes that mistake, has that turnover, has that moment that causes the transition or the giveaway. So two teams that are playing to their full potential in terms of on-the-ball movement, off-the-ball creativity.
Very little of the action has been around the midfield so far. Carolina have the edge in possession, but neither side has an edge on the scoreboard so far. One apiece in this second round contest. Two clubs separated by less than 90 miles. It's a takeaway, and it's Cheney. Cheney bends this ball, but it's always rising, and it goes out for a goal kick. All the strikers as well, they're aggressive and ambitious.
Yeah, not needing a lot of space to get a shot off as you see Cheney trying to wrap this around, but as you mentioned, always rising.
Columbus Crew is about to wrap up its victory against Lexington. Crew 2 with a 94th minute goal from Brent Adu-Giamfi. Out in front 3-0 against Lexington. They're in the 97th minute waiting for the final whistle there. So one MLS Next Pro team will be on to the round of 32. Cuevas inside of the 18, lays it back. First time shot attempt from Canetti. Hits the head of
that ball defended over the end line.
A defender and goes out for the first corner of the night. That's the only thing that we've been missing so far.
I was going to say, as much as this game has gone up and down, we have not seen a team earn a corner yet, and now that has changed.
Well, Jacob Evans will have the duty. Clever with the ball at his feet, and no question, the leader of this group, a reason why he's had the captain's armband from the jump. Evans hooks this ball near post. Chica wins the header, but stings it out wide.
Over the crossbar.
We're less than a half hour in. We've seen 13 shots now.
Yeah, you almost had too many bodies around this ball. Beating Charlotte Independence to that spot, just unable to guide it on frame. You got to imagine that both these coaches are going to look at this matchup, obviously see how the rest of this half plays out, but at halftime, do they make adjustments that pump the brakes just a bit more? Because this is a game that is being played at a frenetic pace. It is going up and down. You can see how much enjoyment both these teams have on the ball and their commitment to go forward. But is there something for each of these sides that kind of helps stall out each other and what each other are trying to do offensively? Because it hasn't been so much of a transitional game. It hasn't been turnovers and go down the field. It has been I want to use the word methodical, but it has been high rate.
Flag's up for offside here.
Offside flag is up. It'll be an indirect kick.
Rodriguez, as we mentioned, a man that is always looking for goal. He scored the penalty kick opener in the first round matchup against Soda City, and that was a lot closer than I expected.
And he's actually gone quiet since he scored. Just making sure that everybody knows that he's going to sit between those two center backs. Just left a bit early there.
Either side be able to gain a lead before halftime. Entertaining matchup here in the second round of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, one of the three currently in action on a 6-match Tuesday. Jauregui tosses this through the middle. Overlap on that side, unsuccessful. Knocked away and stolen by Njai. And then ultimately a whistle. Dead. It's a good crowd here as well. Passionate group watching the Charlotte Independence team. And you look at Mike Jeffrey's 11th season with the organization. He's gone from USL League One to the USL Championship, back to USL League One. Nevertheless, the standard has been high. He's developed great talent within that group. And even when it seems like maybe they lose a big piece, like Juan Carlos Obregon last year, they bring in a talented youngster in Rafael Hagari. Evans taps this one forward. Cuevas chases, and it's knocked away in the end defensively. And it's a throw for Carolina Core. Charles. Evans gives it right back. Evans right in the middle of the field, able to hold on to that for a moment. It's just a piece to nudge it past Njai. Chica. Juarez runs right into a defender. Doesn't stop the carrying run here of Cuevas to win his team a second corner of the opening half hour.
Ball defended
tied at 1 between Charlotte and Carolina Core in the second round of the Open Cup.
And this is where Carolina Core had been dangerous in their first U.S. Open Cup matches, is the ability to get wide and then drive at that end line. It just opened up a variety of different space for them, and they capitalized on it. Now earns them a second corner.
They take on USL League One opponent Forward Madison FC. Back to Jacks all season long with single game tickets on sale
Jacob
now.
Evans
At
puts the ball on the chalk
charlotte.com.
and prepares for this corner kick. Evans lofts this ball. This one back post. Header won by Cheney, the forward for Charlotte doing the defending now. He can do it on both sides of the pitch. He wins his team a throw. That's really nice work there by the 30-year-old from Fresno. This is the 7th different season that he's been involved in the Open Cup. Been with Sacramento Republic, Fresno FC, Central Valley Fuego, Ford Madison, and now Charlotte Independence. So as I mentioned earlier, you have some players that are getting the first taste of this competition and others that have been through different rounds and different bouts. Michael Watring, Eric Dobransky, and our team with you here in Matthews, North Carolina. It's a Tar Heel State clash in the second round of the Open Cup, looking to advance to the round of 32. Juarez, Evans hits this first time. Rodriguez was waiting, he was unmarked, but it didn't get over the top. Juarez again, it's Evans. Charlotte now under a little bit of stress as Juarez splits the seam. Juarez gets to the left foot. Still tries to find space, now brings it back. Here's a shot attempt that bangs off of a shin. Ultimately, it's Kennedy that asks for a corner but will not receive it as it goes out for a goal kick.
Explosive dribble here, but it's just met by good defending from Charlotte Independence. You know that you're going to have an explosive attack from Carolina Core, and you're going to have moments where you collectively defend one player, and you see the ability to pass the player off, and then close those gaps and make it impossible for them to get a shot off. It also shows how explosive they can be on the dribble.
Rodriguez shields, takes his man to the ground. And it's a foul on Yoshua Rodriguez.
See the tackle here from Rodriguez. Somebody we have not seen a lot of for Carolina Core is Kennedy, and that's somebody that really set the pace and built that rhythm for Carolina Core against Soda City, and obviously continues to be an impactful player for Donovan Ricketts and his side.
Cheney accepts the throw. Sorensen gives it away, however. It's excellent hustle over the top. Mike DeShields takes it back. This has somewhat been the flow of this game. One team take advantage for a 3 to 5 minute window, then boom, it's right back to the other side in the attack. Alvarez with the opener. About 100 seconds in, lost this across, but ultimately doesn't cut across as Pannenberg catches. Now here's Carolina Core. No time to breathe in this one. No time to relax at all.
And you were talking about Cheney just a few minutes ago. Was involved with two of the 3 goals that Charlotte Independence had against Long Island Rough Riders. The craziness that was that extra time match. I mean, that was 1-1 going into extra time, and 3 goals in the extra time, and all coming in really a 3-minute span. 104th by Cheney. And Long Island equalized, and then Regi scored the game winner eventually in the 107th.
It was a fun matchup. It was scoreless at halftime. Who could have foreseen what was going to happen over the next 70+ minutes or so? As those two sides went toe-to-toe in nearly a cup set. Charlotte held on the road. Now they get the home matchup. Foul whistled here against Anthony Sorensen, 22-year-old. Played a couple years with Philly Union's second team.
This just continues to show the commitment by players on the ball. It might look easy or casual or routine, but the desire to go on the dribble in that middle phase of the build and that middle portion of the field, there's just so much risk there if you turn the ball over. But when you go at it with desire and purpose and commitment, I mean, you draw a foul there, but the ability to move defenders and move pieces, it just becomes so important as the game wears on. And a lot of players aren't willing to do that because of A, the risk, and then the contact that you incur. As you see, Juarez was a little shaken up there after the play, but you've seen it from both teams. They have not shied away from going into these tighter areas and going shoulder to shoulder with a defender.
There just haven't been a lot of seams for either side, and very rarely have we seen a team needing to retreat, but that's exactly what Charlotte is doing to Carolina Core right now. Here is Canetti, you mentioned him. See if he plays a bigger role in the final 10 minutes. A reminder, fans, that in the round of 32, CBS Sports will host all of the coverage of the U.S. Open Cup on Paramount+, CBS Sports Network, and CBS Sports Golazo. Every match will be on a CBS Sports platform, and plenty of coverage outside of that on the Golazo Network and others. Starting in the round of 32 on April 15th. High arcing ball, nodded away by Spielman, but Evans is there recovering. His pass taken off the feet. First time tonight that both sides have had a chance to relax for just a moment as nobody's pressing Spielman. A whirlwind of a start to this one, and aggressive attacking sides looking to advance to the round of 32. Where the top 16 teams from the USL Championship will enter the fray. Cheney carries this. Cheney swings this ball around. It misses the first defender, not the second, however. Long switch of field. Juarez chases after it, and just as you mentioned, physicality, not a problem tonight. This is a great run. Separating from one defender. Not a second as Evans recovers. Charles, 21-year-old from Tanzania, gives Cuevas a shot. The Spaniard plays Evans forward. Evans hooks this ball. It's over Rodriguez's head. Charles had a piece, but the ball carried him back across the chalk. And, here's a long-distance shot that knuckles out wide. It's the 10th first-half shot of the match so far for Carolina Core.
And you can almost see Jacob Evans putting his hand up, asking why couldn't we just be a bit more patient. We had all the numbers. We had the distances. We had the angles. And that sequence right there all started from an entry pass that broke a ton of lines by Covey. And that bravery out of the back. It might be a tight seam to play into, but they know if they play it with accuracy and pace, it's going to break lines.
'40th minute of action. Charlotte, no strangers to this in U.S. Open Cup matches. They've had 6 of their first 18 need extra time or penalties. Here's this ball in. Cheney heads into the air. Cheney gets another piece. No real seams for him to take a shot. Cuevas carries away. Pannenberg there to catch it. But we get a whistle and a foul and a free kick coming here for the Independents.
Yellow card caution shown to number 21, Derek Cuevas. In the 40th minute.
See on this second action, Cuevas is right through.
I've played soccer since I was 4 years old. It's basically
Less than 5 minutes to go in the first half, and it's Charlotte with a free kick chance here. And meeting adjourns between Alvarez, Cheney, trying to decide what they want to do here. We're tied at 1 apiece. Alvarez scored in the 2nd minute, stealing a ball off the foot of the keeper, Andrew Pannenberg, and then Juarez crossed the ball through, and Yoshua Rodriguez scored to tie the score for Carolina Core.
Look at Spielman lined up on this far left side. Big presence in the air. Get out in that half space and you can knock this ball across for somebody to run onto.
Derek Cuevas was given a yellow card for this foul that sets up Luis Alvarez. Alvarez decides to go wide, and it's quickly taken away, and maybe a chance to counter here for Carolina. They have numbers forward, but now Charlotte getting everybody back in the picture. So just 2 versus 6, and it's a foul, and not something that Charlotte needed to do. I'm not sure that they understood that they had the defensive numbers back, but it's a foul nevertheless, and Carolina go from defending a set piece on one side, and within seconds they get their own.
And it was a bit odd because it was very predictable coming out of the set piece. You could tell early on where they wanted to go on the set piece, and they just never changed their mind on where they were going to play, even though Carolina Core did a great job of shifting over, showing them that they were ready to jump that pass. To your point, they go from attacking one set piece to defending an even more dangerous one.
Jacob Evans ready for another. Evans lines this up, bends this ball back post, and he blasts it too much. Both sides fizzling out here towards the end of the first half. The other match closing in on halftime is Inter Miami 2 and Miami FC. They're scoreless. Another minute or 2 left. Tormenta and Forov just started the second half. Tormenta leading that one 1-0. Looking to oust the UPSL side. One of the 6 that made the upset in round number 1. Dimmick, the captain, lays it off. Spielman was the target, and it's taken right back. And let's see if Carolina can take advantage of this. It's Evans splitting a seam. Has some reinforcements in the middle of the park. Charles. Daniel Chica. It's Juarez. Juarez dashes to the touchline, bounces this ball across, and it's chested away by Dimmick. All he could do to concede a corner, and Carolina have their 3rd corner of the night.
His ability to drive to the end line, get into that half space, and forcing Charlotte Independence to concede a corner, knowing that they have quality numbers in the attacking spaces.
Jacob Evans takes this short, gets it back as he funnels this ball in. Charles, a second go at it here. It's punched to the ground by Levy. Canetti swings it across, and it escapes the foot of Rodriguez. Alvarez darts around 3 different defenders and then draws the foul.
And this has been a highly entertaining first half that has showcased class on both sides for both these teams. I would say if there's an area that both these teams have kind of displayed some shakiness or
the fourth
nerviness,
official has
it's
indicated
defending
a
their
minimum
box.
of 2
I think
minutes
there's
of
some
stoppage
opportunities
time.
for Carolina Core that they could be
Brought to you
cleaner
by
in those
Blue Cross
first
Blue
actions,
Shield of
and we've seen it
Carolina.
from Charlotte Independence as well. Obviously, a really good punch out there by Levy, but each team has kind of exchanged second and third opportunities. We've seen the big saves by both these goalkeepers early on in this first half, but some of those second and third opportunities haven't yet equaled the dangerous chance on goal, but you just don't want that to continue to build and mount into bigger and louder chances as this game wears on.
Pannenberg is out again to fire this away. Do you anticipate, watching what we've seen in this first half, that maybe these two sides will be a little bit more defensive as the game wears on?
That's a great question. I think what has been another element that's entertaining for this first half is the way that they've challenged each other in different ways and asked different questions. You see Charlotte Independence, they've gone in and out of pressing high, they've dropped into a mid and low block, they've chosen different scenarios and ebbs and flows of the game to kind of press in different ways, and same for Carolina Core. And it makes each team make different decisions on the ball, so I think they might take a look at which structure and which defensive involvement has been more positive and maybe stick to that a bit more. But I do like the questions that each of these teams are asking each other.
Carolina have an expected goals of over 1.5 right now. They have definitely been the more assertive side, and a match where both sides have been aggressive. Jacob Evans, probably the last moment here of the first half. A goal per side, and Jacob Evans looks for a perfect service here to give Carolina its first lead of the night. Evans wraps this ball around, was looking for Charles, doesn't get over there. Second cross, ricochets and squirts out. And that's the first half whistle. So one apiece in this one. And Eric, we talked about how entertaining it was. We're in for a good ride in the second half with these two sides even at one.
Yeah, and I think that I would say that it's been highly entertaining, not from the sense of both these teams showcasing class on the defensive side, because I think individually they've had some high moments. I just think collectively on the attacking side of it, they've both been imaginative, they've both been brave, they've both chosen good moments to be collective in what they're doing offensively, and it's turned into a good explosive offensively for both these teams from both sides.
It was early fireworks in this one. Luis Alvarez pilfering a ball and depositing it in the net. And less than 10 minutes later, it would be an equalizer from Rodriguez. 1-1 is your score in this second round matchup in the U.S. Open Cup.
Social Pet is the official pet partner of the Charlotte Independence. Nominate your furry friend on the Charlotte Independence website and be entered for the chance to win 4 VIP on-field tickets to an upcoming match. Hey fans, Carolina Ascent FC is making waves for women's professional soccer across the Carolinas. Join the climb and get your tickets for their next home game on Saturday, April 12th at American Legion Memorial Stadium. It's Youth Sports Night, presented by Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, with free Carolina Ascent FC font charm and penny packs giveaway. Tickets are on sale now at CarolinaAscent.com.
We're tied at 1 in this Tar Heel State clash between Charlotte Independence and Carolina Core. Before we start off the second half, we know that North Carolina was hit hard by Hurricane Helene. For an update on the recovery efforts, watch this.
ABASA is Asheville Buncombe Adult Soccer Association, bringing soccer to the community of Asheville for the adult population here.
We serve about 1,200 players in the Asheville area. Anybody who wants to play, we'll find a place for them.
We've got co-ed, we've got all women, we've got men as well. Just a wholesome set of adults participating in the sport of soccer.
We were getting ready to have a really good fall season. We were really ready for, end of the year tournaments and stuff like that. And then the disaster happened. It ended up being something that none of us were prepared for.
We were about 3 to 4 games into the fall season when Hurricane Helene hit.
Not only were the fields washed away, but the goals, everything just gone. The roads leading in and out, the bridge leading into the fields.
It's my first time on ground zero here, looking at a field that I'm used to playing on, that my kids have been playing on. No longer being here is tragic. I mean, I feel like I'm going through a traumatic experience.
Pretty emotional seeing the destruction. There's so much sediment, trees, there's a truck on the field, so much debris. You wouldn't really know that there's turf and soccer fields out there.
We don't know where to go. We don't know when we'll be able to return. Looking at the stuff that I'm looking at now, I can't see a way back. Without the help of the community, without the help of all the participants, all the family members, everyone who loves soccer, Asheville is a soccer community. It's extremely important that we get back to being the community that we love, and that's through the sport of soccer.
Getting back to soccer is so important because it means so much to people here.
For many, this is like their therapy, just being out here. It just washes away all the day's woes and their frustrations from work or whatever, and also the exercise. I know I personally don't like running unless there's a ball involved.
People can support in a variety of ways, but really we have a lot of unknowns coming up, and any type of financial support would really be appreciated.
Donations will help, fundraising will help, support, any kind of volunteering will help. I think we're all kind of reeling from what has occurred, and so sometimes what's most important is be able to take a breath and get back to the way things were before, but we need help for that. ABASA would extremely appreciate the support that's given, whatever it may be, at this time.
A sport helping a community overcome the devastation left behind by Hurricane Helene, and the fans are out in force tonight to watch Charlotte Independence and Carolina Core play to a 1-1 draw through 45 minutes of play. Let's take a look at the highlights, and if you got in a couple minutes late, you missed a lot of action. And here in the second minute, it was Charlotte breaking, and it was a really fine finish here from Luis Alvarez hustling after this ball.
Just never broke stride, just continue to press Carolina Core on that ball played back to Pannenberg, putting his team up 1-0, and we were interested to see how Carolina Core was going to respond, and they responded by playing through the lines, being proactive, being fluid, on and off the ball, created some chances, terrific save early on, and then they just continued to ask questions out in these wide spaces, and then Juarez playing this ball across, that near post run leaves it for that man, Rodriguez. He has been a menace in the U.S. Open Cup, 5 appearances, 5 goals, and then each of these teams just exchanging stages in which they created some explosive opportunities. Good save there by Pannenberg. Both these goalkeepers having to come up big just to keep this game at 1-1.
And that's where we sit at halftime. In the first half, we saw a total of 16 shot attempts, 11 from Carolina Core. in the opening 45. And now the question becomes, what will we see in the second half of play? We saw so much aggressive, assertive play, really in mostly the first 25 minutes. There was still some in the second portion in that 45, but a lot of the big moments happened in the opening 20 minutes of play. And now both coaches had a chance to address their teams. I wonder what this will look like. This has been something that Charlotte have very much been in throughout their time in the Open Cup. They've had 3 matches go to penalties. They've had 6 total go to extra time in their time, including 2 last year in their journey through the U.S. Open Cup. So they're not unfamiliar to this spot. And might this one be trending towards a fantastic finish that might need more than just the 90 minutes?
And to your point, that first half, agreed, that first 20, 25 minutes was dynamic, explosive. It had a lot of excitement, and it did dull out a little bit towards the end of that half. I think the defensive traps that each of these teams are going to set here in the second half are going to have a big part to play in what the result ends up being, because I think those traps will allow each of these teams to start in more advanced positions, and I think shrinking the field is going to be something for both these teams that it'll be a positive thing instead of having to go box to box each time.
Second half just about ready to get started. Charlotte in the white and blues. It's the orange, yellow, and greens for Carolina Core as these two sides clash for the first time in a competitive match. They had several scrimmages in the preseason. But second half action underway here in Matthews, North Carolina, alongside Eric Dobransky. I'm Michael Watring, our entire crew. Grateful to have you on board for this one. It's the second round of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup here on the U.S. Soccer YouTube channel. A reminder that in round of 32, we'll be on the CBS Sports Network platforms through Paramount Plus, CBS Sports Network, and CBS Sport Golazo. Oh, we've spoken with a lot of coaches getting ready for these matches over the years, and I think that there has to be a different approach, and that's kind of been the theme that we've heard in these U.S. Open Cup matches, because it's not like the regular season where you're trying to build points, where you're trying to carve out results to get to the top of the table because it's a long time. These matches are one and done, and nobody wants to have everything decided by penalties in the end, so you want to win this thing in the run of play.
Yeah, Donovan Ricketts had mentioned that in those regular season matches, you're trying to stack performances, and those performances leading to results. And then in the Open Cup, your goal is to advance. However that looks, the goal is to win and advance and make sure that you're playing in the next round of the Open Cup. So what does that entail? Obviously, the foundational principles will always stay there, the game theory, the game model, the overall identity. But how do you add a nugget or two in each of these moments, or how do you add a variety of what you look like and what your identity is? And I think it'll be on full display tonight with two teams that are fairly familiar with each other. Obviously, to your point, this is their first meaningful match in terms of competitive match. They've played in preseason, played some of those practice games. But which one of these teams kind of builds out of that comfort or that ability to necessarily break the mold identity-wise, but to break a couple moments where, hey, this is typically structurally what we look like, but we might just need a bit of this to break this deadlock and make sure that we're the ones advancing on, regardless of what it looks like, possession numbers or XG.
You have a Carolina side that has a penalty kick win against Inter Miami and a loss in regulation to NYCFC 2 so far this season. Meanwhile, Charlotte Independence for the campaign, they have won one, that being a 1-0 victory against Richmond, and they've also drawn against Chattanooga Red Wolves in their 2 matches so far in the USL League One regular season. Now, keeping an eye on how things are sorting out everywhere else. Inter Miami 2 and Miami FC scoreless, and 4-0 with a banger to tie things up. Gibran Arreo, former Columbus Crew 2 member, finishes a goal to tie it at 1, and that's got about 10 minutes left between 4-0 and Tormenta. Here's Cheney, unable to latch onto that ball as Pannenberg, he's been aggressive tonight, consistently been out towards the top of the 18-yard box, catches that.
Well, and I think it goes back to the ability for Chaney to not only work in front of these two, in front of this back line for Carolina Core, but the ability to be elusive in stretching that back line and working and operating between the two defenders. He's asked a variety of different questions. He's tested a number of different positions and starting points there centrally, not allowing Carolina Core to be comfortable and steady with what they do defensively against Chaney. As you were reading through some of the results for Carolina Core, it's always been something that I've always been a bit interested in, maybe not this early on in the Open Cup, but with MLS Next Pro having the penalties in draws, does that give some sort of advantage to teams that you might be able to see some of these penalties? I mean, obviously, whether you're dealing with squad rotation or just overall a different look, but does it give you a bit of an advantage to look at some of the PK takers to see and be prepared with what to expect?
This cross in over the top. Levy was unable to go get it, and Charlotte ultimately in the end able to clear.
Good job of getting this ball wide, winning your 1v1 matchup. But in the depth of these runs, you could see that near post run, the commitment that draws the attention in defenders and then opens up an even more dangerous area, that far post run. You hear a lot of coaches and teams talk about that front post run being one of those like love for the game runs where you know you're not necessarily going to be the one on the ball, especially when you've already overrun the front post. You know that run is for your teammates.
Last season, Charlotte Independence, a 2-0 win in their first match. Then 0-0 in full time. Went to penalties against South Carolina United Heat, won that matchup, and then one of the matches of the entire tournament last year against Rhode Island, 4-4 in that one. That was back and forth, highly entertaining. Went to penalties, they won that, and then would go on to the round of 32, where they would ultimately fall to the 2019 champs of the U.S. Open Cup, Atlanta United. Charlotte have won 3 consecutive on this field in the Open Cup. The last time they failed was to North Carolina Fusion U23s, now Salem City, back in the first round during the 2022 Open Cup. And the last 2 times they've played on this field, they've needed penalties to advance. But I think after the opening 10 minutes, if you had told both of us that this would still be 1-1 at this point in the match, I think we'd both be surprised. It's been a little bit of defending, a little bit of goalkeeping, but also neither side has quite been able to get that same level of great attacking chances as we saw in the opening 10.
A lot of the time, whether it's a regular season match, obviously the regular season, the consistency spans through the longevity of the season itself, but when you play these one-off games, it's about those big game behaviors, those players that step up in big moments, and we've already seen it from both sides. Alvarez, we'd mentioned in the Open, was going to be a key portion for Charlotte Independence, and he goes and scores in the second minute. We knew Rodriguez was going to have something to say because he's had something to say in every Open Cup game he's played in. So now, who steps up and puts their name along with their teammate there that goes on to define what this result ends up in, as we see another chance from distance. And that's what both teams don't want to settle for. They don't want to settle for chances from 30, 35 yards out. It's going to take something special to beat 2 goalkeepers that have already come up big and have such command of their box.
Here's Juarez. Quite the impact in the first half, including the assist. Floats this ball in. Knocked to the ground by Zion Scarlett. Dimmick clears to midfield. Cheney chests it back. Tumbling carry there by Njai. Charles. Another shove and still no whistles here. Chica wins that tackle. Njai throws this through the middle. That's a pretty ball. Cheney couldn't quite slow it down, and Pannenberg comes out to get it. Owen
just not able to hold this ball up with this through pass, and Cheney not able to get on the end of it. Pannenberg quick off his line. He's been aware throughout the night of the timing and the moments they needed him to come off, whether it was to play with his feet or pick it up and build out of the back. Still think some of the box defending for both these teams has a hint of casualness to it. It lacks a bit of proactivity, a lot of reacting. We've seen some of the space that attacking players have gotten in and around the 18-yard box. Nothing has come off quite yet in terms of an additional dangerous opportunity, but it only takes one chance.
Dimmick lays it back as Charlotte take their turn to create an attacking opportunity. Looking to break this 1-1 deadlock. Slight stumble and a push. A sprint along that left side. Charlotte Independence coach Mike Jeffries has quite the lineage in the U.S. Open Cup and really U.S. soccer in general. A great article on ussoccer.com by Jonah Fontella that was put out last week. Certainly highly recommend the reading of that. But, you know, in 1984, he was the top player in the country in college, winning the Herman Trophy. Played in the national championship game that lasted 160 minutes. That was before they had the overtime rules in place. And he's won a couple U.S. Open Cups as an assistant coach with Chicago Fire. And he's very much seen the growth of the sport and can very much be an oral historian of how things have changed from when he was a player to when he first started coaching, when he changed from being a stockbroker to now being a coach in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah, and just a fascinating journey. As you said, highly recommend the read, and just incredible. It just gives you not only insight, but again, perspective of what soccer has gone through in the United States. And it also goes back to the rich history of the U.S. Open Cup. I mean, the longest tournament here in America. I mean, it's just so much history has survived through the U.S. Open Cup, and Mike Jeffries has seen it all. To your point, that 160 minutes, I mean, that sounds painful in itself.
A free kick now for his side to defend, and Jacob Evans will play it and get it back and hook this ball. Back post, it's thrown in. Another great save from Levy. Denies Juan Pablo Rodriguez this time.
And you knew as set pieces started to make their way back into the match here in the second half, were you going to add that clever movement, and you see the slightest of touches, it finds that back post, and Levy comes up big again. when you can get defenders to just casually move, the slightest of movement opens up so much.
Here's this cross in. Cleared out of trouble for the moment. Carolina flexing now, looking to take the lead. For the first time in this matchup, one side will advance to the round of 32. Those matches to be played on April 15th and 16th.
Going back to that Mike Jeffries article, also gives the appreciation of soccer in terms of the development, the NASL, and the creation of MLS. I mean, just the reconstruction of the structure in U.S. soccer it's been a long time, but it also feels like it was just yesterday where we were starting to see some of the progress that this sport has made and now continues to make.
And to that point, this is the 110th edition of the U.S. Open Cup. It's the third longest currently running tournament in the world for team sports. And when you think about where it was when Mike Jeffries became a pro, NASL was shutting down. He was looking for options and a role. Had taken a stockbroker position at Smith Barney. He didn't stick. He wanted to leave the financial side, found coaching, got into that after getting married, and would continue on that role, starting to learn how to love that. And he has been through the ups and downs. He started coaching with Dallas Byrne, went through some upsets there of the New Orleans Riverboat Gamblers during a time. And he has watched this tournament grow, but more importantly, watched the sport grow from a time where finding participants in this tournament had a lot of amateur sides, a lot of no names, but it has grown into a massive competition with so many different players from so many different age groups and experience levels playing. And it's a tale as old as time for the Dewar Challenge Trophy. Who will come away at the end to be the last team standing of the 96 that entered this field?
And I think one of the special things that we get when we talk to these coaches leading into a lot of these U.S. Open Cup matches is a lot of these coaches have participated in the U.S. Open Cup, and we always have the special time to kind of reflect on what their experiences have been and some of their fond memories of the U.S. Open Cup. And obviously Mike Jeffries winning too as an assistant coach. He had Ian Fuller a couple weeks ago in the first round for One Knox. He scored a goal in the Open Cup final that his team didn't, Charleston Battery didn't win that final, but scoring the goal, that was something that really stood out to him and was special in his experience. And just goes back to what it means to these players, these organizations, to compete in this tournament.
Donovan Rickens talking about his memories. As Pannenberg again is aggressive. He's empty. This shot, though, doesn't have nearly enough pace on it. And Pannenberg plenty of time to get back to it. This is nearly another catastrophic mistake.
He goes out to play it and doesn't really realize that Sorensen is right there. And you can see how upset Sorensen is. He can play him to feet and almost had an easy finish.
Scarlett the other way. Scarlett punches this ball through. And the clearance goes well out of the park, and it's out for a corner.
Ball defended over the end
This
line.
has
It'll be a corner
been
kick.
typical of how quickly we go from one box to the other box.
Get ready for
We just
a
exchange
Atlas chiropractic substitution.
dangerous opportunities,
Coming
and
in for
we have
Carolina
not
4,
seen a
number
lot of
17,
Scarlett
Glory
in there,
Bingo.
getting on his left foot.
He's replacing
Still
number 21, Derek Cuevas.
There's something there from Scarlett Canetti. We see another delivery from Jacob Evans.
Evans to take this corner kick. Evans whips this ball in. A near post run, a couple bounces, but we get a foul first. Daniel Chica coming in, commits the infraction.
And I would say Carolina Core is going to look at their corners, and they just have not been able to reward themselves with the efforts to earn these corners, these set plays. And it's definitely not from the lack of quality delivery from Jacob Evans. It's just been kind of a collective, whether it's the timing of the runs, the separation. Obviously credit to Charlotte Independence for being solid defensively in those moments, as we see injured player.
Chica making that run. And the injury coming here with about 25 more minutes to go. And things are getting wild in that Tormenta and Foro matchup. Tormenta took the lead on a Yaniv Bazzini goal in the 85th minute. And in the second minute of stoppage time, Foro wins a penalty. Brian Padilla finishes. And it's 2-2 in the 94th minute.
The official robotic lawnmower of the USL.
That match has featured 27 shots, and it's another dandy of a contest.
Their cutting-edge technology keeps fields looking their best, ensuring every pass, shot, and goal happens on a pitch ready for greatness.
Brian Padilla had a brace in their first-round match against Texoma, product at the University of Maryland.
Off the restart here. It's Rodriguez chasing after it, and we get a foul whistled on Mike DeShields, and Rodriguez asking for a booking, and he's going to get that on DeShields. So a 66-minute yellow, the first for the Independents.
Yeah, Rodriguez making the argument that if he beats DeShields, he's got nothing but space in behind, and obviously the referee coming to agree with the yellow card to DeShields, and hasn't been maybe the sustained performance that we're maybe used to seeing from Rodriguez in US Open Cup games, but he has definitely sparked a moment here and there.
Set pieces have been a fixture of this core side so far. Evans decides to play it right through the middle. Canetti.
Yellow card caution was shown to number 23, Michael DeShields.
Ultimately cleared away by Anthony Sorensen. Substitution for Carolina. Glorian Zingo comes in and replaces Derek Cuevas.
Sponsored by Atlas Chiropractic.
A couple more changes now for Charlotte Independence. It is John Baccaro coming in. He replaces Anthony Sorensen.
Also coming in, number 26, Swebu Maru, replacing Omar Sis.
And Omar Sis is going to come out, and Swebu Maru is coming in. So now's when we'll start to see some of those changes being made. Baccaro, 28 years of age, played collegiately at Wake Forest, grew up in Spain. Swebu Maru, Cameroonian forward, so a little bit more punch to be packed here. This was the one that was injured on that corner kick earlier. Either side be able to get another goal. This just suddenly turned into a defensive clash after we saw 2 goals in the opening 10 minutes. Scarlett plays it back. It's Canetti. Hasn't quite had the impact that he typically does in a match, but that can change in a heartbeat. Juarez has. Juarez wins the race to the touchline, hits this off of a foot. It trickles over towards Scarlett. Canetti again. Canetti wraps this ball around, and Levy is right there waiting for it after the run from Rodriguez.
This is about that time where you're going to see we've already seen the substitutions, but possible adjustments, and you're really not going to see it to the shape and the overall identity, but maybe look to expose different areas of the field, maybe break some pressure in different ways. Because there's talked about the approach and maybe the messaging going into a one-game elimination in an Open Cup. You definitely have two teams that are in the midst of regular seasons, midweek game. I'm not sure that they want to see extra time.
Here's Nzingo bouncing this ball. Rodriguez chases, nearly had a piece of it. Levy, fortunately, with both hands, had enough of it to get it away.
And what Rodriguez does an exceptional job of here is making sure he's only making contact with the ball and not bumping. Levy, an excuse for the referee to blow the whistle, give a foul.
Tormenta have taken the lead. Just as we mentioned it, Sebastian Vivas has scored in the 94th minute. And they're in the 100th minute now of a 3-2 differential. Tormenta looking to take out Foro. Here we have 20 minutes to go. It is Charlotte Independence 1 on Luis Alvarez's goal in the 2nd minute. And Carolina Corp 1. Joshua Rodriguez scoring in the 10th minute of this game. And we have not seen any scoring since, as this has suddenly turned into a defensive stalemate between MLS Next Pro's Carolina Corps and USL League One Charlotte Independence. Alongside Eric Dobransky and our crew, Michael Watreng, as we look for a winner here before extra time is required. In the first round, 8 matches went to extra time, 3 went to penalties. And so far here tonight, 1 final is in the books. That's Columbus Crew, 3-0 victories. The second unit takes out Lexington. And Tormenta closing in on taking out Foro, one of the 6 amateur teams that had advanced this far in the tournament.
You just got to wonder what the breakthrough is going to look like for either of these teams. You'd mentioned it earlier. If you look at the start to this game at 1-1, could have really thought that this wasn't going to sputter out and stay that scoreline for very long. Now as we enter the final 20 minutes, talked about the bravery and the commitment they were playing with early on and throughout that first half. And not that that's necessarily gone away. I think both those teams, and to your point in the first half, defensively, what were either of these teams going to do? And I think both of them have shrunk the gap in the lanes that each of them are able to play through. So it's made it even more difficult. But we haven't seen that dynamic transition moment just yet, the ability to win the ball at midfield and go. So do you see sprinkles of that here heading into the final 18 minutes? And then do you see some of that human nature a bit, being the players that don't want to make the mistake and don't want to cost their team a loud opportunity with a giveaway of some sort? And maybe you do see these teams play a bit safer as we see this game wear on.
Both teams are back in action on Saturday. For Carolina Corps, it's a home match. Check that, a road match. No, sorry, home match against NYCFC2 after they had just visited NYCFC2. Meanwhile, for Charlotte, they'll have the road trip to Greenville.
Yeah, you always wonder how the midweek game and their regular season plays into, and then obviously to your point, the travel. Are you traveling? Are you home for the next game? And even this Open Cup match, how does that play into the substitutions, the the overall fatigue that you might see set in to some of these players. As frenetic as that first 45 was, up and down, there's a lot of ground coverage from both these teams. Seen it settle in.
Donovan Ricketts' message to his team after the 4-2 win against Soda City in the first round was, don't take your foot off the gas. They were making some substitutions, getting ready for NYCFC 2, and leading 4-0 with that game firmly in hand. They gave up 2 goals after those subs were made, and it ended up 4-2. So we've only seen 1 core substitution so far. And when will Donovan Ricketts turn in the final quarter hour before extra time of a 1-1 game here in the second round of the Open Cup? Both sides defensively have made adjustments to slow things down. It is officially over. Tormenta are through to the round of 32 against 4-0 in a entertaining matchup. And if you're just joining us here, thanks for stopping by. 1-1, Charlotte scoring in the 2nd minute, Carolina in the 10th minute. Watching Eric Dobransky and our team guiding you through this matchup. One other match currently going on as well. Inter Miami 2 and Miami FC are still scoreless. That match is drifting across the 80th minute now. Maru loses it. Charles takes it away from him. Here's a quick turn. Zingo unable to carry that through. Does get a deflection on the redirect. And now things will slow down. We've seen 4 total shots in this second half, 2 for each side. First half we saw 16. And all that aggression that we saw in the opening 30 minutes of the game has firmly settled in now, and 2 sides that are looking to advance to the round of 32 yet again in their club's histories. Deadlocked at 1 apiece.
And we expected both teams to make adjustments defensively. We mentioned in the first half the flexibility and the adaptability of both these teams in terms of when they high press, when they sat in a mid to low block, when they absorbed some pressure, when they conceded possession and got numbers behind the ball. Now they've sustained it from the opening whistle here in the second half. But we also thought that on the ball, both these teams displayed a lot of bravery and a lot of confidence, commitment to go forward. Now, as this game wears on, did you see that human element kind of find its way into the match where you don't want to make that massive mistake as we see that foul in the build? Where you see a lot of these types of matches be decided by dead ball situations, set pieces, corner kicks, free kicks.
Evans sprints through, and Zingo right back. Evans tucks it wide. Juarez circles, bends it through, and it gets knocked out by Spielman for a corner kick. And you talk about those set piece chances, very much advantage in favor of Carolina. This is their 7th.
And it almost looked like Juarez had just paused his run for just a split second, and if he would have continued, he would have had a multitude of options, not even just to play it over to a teammate, but it almost looked like he could take a touch.
Charlotte have not had a corner tonight. This is the 7th of the game for Carolina Core. They have not led so far, and it's Jacob Evans, the team captain, preparing. Evans hooks this ball towards the spot. Canetti was chasing, but the high trajectory allows the clearance. Juarez in the second bite. Covey, big defender, lays it back for Pannenberg, and a reset here for Charlotte. They have had 60+% possession for much of the night.
They have done a superb job of, Carolina Core, is, yes, they play in this expansive shape. They want to keep the ball. They are ball dominant, but they have done a good job of minimizing, limiting, eliminating any sort of transition that Charlotte Independence might have, and that's first ball pressure. That is the ability to either break up play and disrupt it with a 50-50 challenge, or influence and impact where that second ball goes. And it's really halted anything that Charlotte Independence has been able to do.
Juan Pablo Rodriguez tosses this over the top. It's just out of the reach of Juarez. How about Matt Levy? Having to go all the way over there to ensure that that ball goes out for a goal kick.
So much of the time when you get into these tight matches, those fine margins begin to amplify themselves. And that's where you see big time players with big game behaviors show up, because you know that you need to make a play. You need to beat your defender 1 versus 1, or defensively you need to make that tackle.
Evans taps the ball enough to slow it down. Jacob Evans swings this ball in. Doesn't get a winning header there by Zingo.
That's why you see a lot of games be decided in these latter portions of matches. Fatigue starts to set in, both physically and mentally. You've been making decisions for 80+ minutes. Been navigating the challenges that arise in each scenario, each moment, and which team is going to put it all together and reward themselves with a goal.
Here's this ball through, a shot attempt. Pannenberg denies. Is there a second chance? There will not be. Maru had the opportunity to put Charlotte in front. Pannenberg makes another big save.
Well, it makes it all the more difficult when you have two goalkeepers just one-upping each other, save after save. And it's Pannenberg's turn to come up big, keep this game level. But that is the moment on the ball that both these teams are looking for, the ability to break lines, play through pressure, thread it through, then add in the individual brilliance, whether it's a turn, whether it's a finish, whether it's pinning the ball high and the runs off of it.
Andrew Pannenberg made that costly error in the second minute that allowed Alvarez to get a steal and a goal. Since then, he's made 2 massive saves. Will his team reward him with a victory tonight in the run of play?
Have to feel like if Carolina Core are going to find the breakthrough, it's going to have some involvement of Jacob Evans. I mean, he has covered a lot of ground tonight. He has operated in a number of different spaces. Possibly get him on the ball higher up the field. Is there a turnover here at midfield?
Maru has some numbers forward if you go, but instead they pass it back and allow Carolina to reshape.
That's that defending from Carolina Core, making it just uncomfortable enough for Charlotte Independence to not feel like they could go forward, that they want to reset. And you can see some of the frustration with the surrounding players. They, to your point, they felt like they could go.
More direct pass this time around into plenty of space, and Zion Scarlett will get to it. Pannenberg has to be careful. Dimmick is chasing. Evans taps it forward, and here's the sprint now from Juarez right through the middle of the park. Juarez with choices, taps it out wide. Evans circles. Evans slings it across, and Nzingo is the closest target. He's trying to win the race and does so.
Oh, it almost looked like he had Rodriguez thread that ball between the two defenders, but elected to go wide.
Evans so clever with the ball, unable to hold on to that long enough. And maybe we get some kind of roller coaster here down the stretch with one of these two sides trying to win this before extra time. Carolina do have a sub standing over by the fourth official. And the ball gets played out the next time. Here's Nzingo. Sprinting to his left, and Nzingo tries to accelerate, but it's a good defensive recovery run by Maru. And Scarlett commits the foul.
See what kind of impact each substitute has on their team as Maru wins his defensive battle there at the top of the 18-yard box and then gets fouled here in the wide area. Time for the Charlotte Independents to settle in, take a bit of air out of the ball.
Johnny Bazias comes in and replaces Zion Scarlett. 22-year-old from New York. Second man to be summoned by Donovan Ricketts. Bazias has not played so far this season for Carolina, neither the Open Cup or the regular season. He played 156 total minutes a year ago, so quite the way to make an impact. Perhaps here tonight. Juarez dashes past one, unable to get by a second. Alvarez, and it's last touched as it goes out of play. And an update from Miami. And it is Miami FC taking the advantage in the 84th minute. Francisco Bonfilio scoring for Miami FC in the USL Championship side against the MLS Next Pro team. Has the advantage, looking to get through stoppage time there.
This is that depth and that next player up mentality that Donovan Ricketts had mentioned to us this week. Was the expectation and the standard was that if your number was called upon, you were going in to make a positive impact and influence the match. Such an important stage as the US Open Cup. Some impactful minutes, impactful role here towards the end of the match.
3 minutes plus stoppage time remains in regulation. Juarez debates his choices, tries to take on Inga. Finally does beat Fabrice. Alvarez comes over to help. Two defenders with Juarez, the only man over. And he's the last to touch. There's no foul. He was asking for one. He was hopeful.
I will say this for both teams that have really affected this match defensively. Both teams have significantly tightened up their proactive defending in each of their boxes. I thought there was some loose defending in that first 45 and maybe even early on in moments in the second half. But both have tightened it up and been detailed.
Suarez, or Canetti rather. Evans. Evans flips this ball in. It's Rodriguez! A man with 3 goals in the tournament nearly came up with a winner.
Oh, the elusive run here by Rodriguez. He never gives up, recycles, resets, and just working off that back shoulder of DeShields. Again, all that attention goes to Jacob Evans, who clips in just this precise, beautiful ball in that back post. And with a player that has 5 appearances and 5 goals in the US Open Cup, you didn't expect him to miss from there.
Maybe a little bit of slip from Rodriguez. Otherwise, it would have been the first lead of the day. Pannenberg comes out. He has very much been a sweeper in this one, has erased so many chances by his aggression. Charles slows it down, nearly gave it away. Chica comes over to rescue. 90th minute now. Will we have a winner or will we need extra time? Juarez, Canetti fakes. Nearly was able to get in there against Spielman, and instead, we get a foul whistled.
He just needed that second action, but again, credit to the defensive side. Nick Spielman, Mike DeShields, obviously in that tackle, Nick Spielman, but 2 center backs have done a sturdy job back there today in terms of organizing this group collectively, managing the ebbs and flows of each attacking sequence. Everything's going to look different.
Here's Nzingo, laying it forward. Rodriguez chases, will not get there in time. 3 minutes of stoppage time here before extra time in this one.
Let's get up and get behind your Jacks who try to get a win.
Will Charlotte Independence be able to find a moment here down the stretch as they charge on the home pitch? I mentioned a third of their matches all time in the Open Cup have needed at least extra time. That ball from Cheney to nobody in particular. Didn't have any options on that side of the field.
And Charlotte Independence has looked a little less collective in the final third than they did in the first half, and the way the Carolina Core has looked here in the second half. A lot of their moments and their louder moments have been isolated. I mean, I know the big save by Pannenberg came from good link-up play. They've just not found themselves close enough to each other.
Nzingo pivots, and Nzingo unable to get it off. Here's Juarez. Juarez whips this ball in, and Levy had it measured the entire way and makes a clean save.
Whereas an example for Carolina Core, they do have that collective distance from each other in the attacking half, whereas in second and third balls come out and you have an opportunity like this, obviously unable to get the pace and the shape to beat Levy.
Long ball into the 18. Pannenberg is out, and that ball somehow misses everybody before rolling towards the chalk. Charlotte now pushing
It's time for another
for what would be a winner.
Substitution. It's the Foxes making the adjustment. Bringing in number 9, Pachi Polanco, who's replacing number 13, Joshua Rodriguez.
So Joshua Rodriguez is coming out. A man that has scored 3 goals in the first 2 matches with an assist in this tournament is replaced by Pachi Polanco, 26-year-old from Honduras.
Yeah, Rodriguez probably didn't have the consistent and sustained threat that he was looking for from himself and that we're accustomed to, but still had some loud, dangerous moments in front of goal. That's what you want from a forward, is maybe when your involvement is not as high and as consistent as you're used to, still putting yourself in dangerous situations and finding that space.
Rodriguez could have won it in the 89th minute. He split off the shoulder of DeShields, but just couldn't quite get a good boot to it. That sub might allow for a few extra seconds in this one, and might it help the Independents? They have numbers forward here. It's clipped in over the top. Maru chases. Pannenberg picks it up He wants his team to make a run for the final possession of this. And there's your full-time whistle. And we will need extra time. For the first time in round 2, we will have extra time. It is the 9th time in the 2025 edition of the U.S. Open Cup that we come here. And Eric, we saw 2 goals in the first 10 minutes. I thought we were heading to 3, 4, something like that. And here we are in a defensive slugfest.
I mean, it was a high-octane start to this match, and who knew that those 2 goals, one for each side, was going to be all that we would see the rest of the match, because both these teams were playing through the line, so creative, so elusive, adaptive in terms of what they were looking to create and how they were looking to do it. But I think credit to both goalkeepers and credit to both teams for making the adjustments defensively, standing up tall, and winning some of their individual duels. Time.
So what are the extra time rules? 2 15-minute periods will be played in full. Each team gets 1 extra substitute and sub window. There is no golden goal, so we'll go the full 120. And if we get to that point, and we still have not decided the outcome, we will go to penalties. And you mentioned it earlier about the penalties that MLS Next Pro employ. Might that be a bit of an advantage for Charlotte in the sense that they've seen it, or might it be an advantage for Carolina because they practice it more frequently?
And that's a tremendous point. I mean, when you're in that routine of practicing it, knowing that it's a viable option each match, it's something that is on the front of your mind. Now, for Charlotte Independence, there's got to be no question that they've at least reviewed them. To what extent and what detail, we don't know, but there's got to be the availability to, they've looked it up, they've at least taken some notes, and at least have a good idea of what they're going to see if that comes to fruition later on.
And even extending further upon that, when you look at the 1-1 tie in this matchup, these teams also played 2 60-minute scrimmages and a full 90
Yep.
as well. They might have gone through some situational moments where they have seen penalties on top of that. 1-1 is the score in the second round of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. We'll pause quickly here for a deep breath. This first overtime session, the first extra time period, will come your way when we come back here to North Carolina.
All right, fans, we are going for 2 15-minute overtime periods. Both will be played. There is no golden goal. If we are still tied after those periods, we will go to penalty kicks. We thank you for staying with us tonight, being here to support your Jacks.
For the first time in the history of the organization, in just its second year in the Open Cup, Carolina Corps are going to extra time after advancing the furthest among any MLS Next Pro team, one of the 3 that reached the 3rd round last year. They get to extra time period. Meanwhile, for Charlotte Independent, this is the 4th time in their last 6 that they have to go to extra time, including their first matchup, which was a crazy one. You mentioned it earlier. It was 1-1 at the end of regulation. They had trailed 1-0 in that match until Jauregui scored in the 79th minute. And then in the 104th, Cheney gave Charlotte Independence the lead. And then boom, Long Island Rough Riders immediately tied the score in the first minute of stoppage time. And then in the 107th minute, Jauregui ended it in a 3-2 Charlotte win at Long Island. And now here in this extra window, 2 15-minute periods to decide this, or might we need penalties here tonight? Tied at 1, extra time is underway. It's Charlotte in the white and blues. It is the orange, yellow, and greens for Carolina Corps. And it's the only match currently going on in the 110th edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Michael Watrang, Eric Dobransky, and our team. Great to have you on board as we watch the conclusion of this matchup. 2 teams that got off to electric starts have settled into all of a sudden a defensive bout. Carolina have outshot Charlotte 17-8. Both goals came in the opening 10 minutes of this match, and both keepers have been sterling with 3 saves apiece.
And we had mentioned the familiarity that both these teams had, playing each other in preseason, playing each other a number of times. I guess they just wanted to play an extra 30 minutes. They weren't quite done with each other. Both these teams have players and collective identities that can absolutely flip the narrative and change the tempo and the outlook of this game. It's just about who, what, and when, and who pushes through to make that breakthrough. Saw a couple opportunities towards the end of that second half that each of them couldn't reward themselves.
Jauregui spins this through the middle. Maru and Cheney were both there. Pannenberg picks it up. We saw 16 total shots in the first half of the match. In the second half, only 9. Both times, Carolina out shooting Charlotte. Carolina out of MLS Next Pro. Charlotte out of USL League One. One of the longest tenured U.S. Open Cup teams in the history of USL League One. They've been to all of the full competition since 2015. 10 wins overall in that time, and their best finish in 2015, reaching the round of 16. Shift of field it goes. This ball curled in by Mazias. Mazias' first action in this one. He goes down. He's asking for a foul. Will not get it. Cheney instead carries. A man that scored 4 goals in 10 career Open Cup appearances. Here's Baquero. He was quiet after entering as a sub. Lifts this forward. It's Maru onside. Maru tries to find space. Maru taps this over the top, and it hits the strings. Charlotte Independence have the lead. Swaybu Maru, the 24-year-old from Cameroon, makes it 2-1.
Charlotte Independence by number 26, Swaybu Maru.
And Maru had still so much to do on this finish. What a ball played in behind, and the blend of composure and craftiness is on full display. He waits just long enough to get Pannenberg committed and just clips this ball over the goalkeeper. And now we start extra time just like we started full time.
2 minutes into the game, it was Charlotte scoring. Now, less than 4 minutes in to extra time. It is Charlotte Independent scoring, and it's Swebu Maru, who represented Cameroon in the 2022 World Cup. Did not play in that, but had the experience at the age of 21. And here the 24-year-old scores for Charlotte Independence to once again give the home side an advantage in this contest. Maru had played 40 minutes in 2 appearances so far this year. Scores in this one. And now will Carolina be able to find a response yet again?
And Baquero with the assist, so both substitutes coming on and making an impact here in the extra time. You just never know. Obviously, the substitutions are made with that intent and purpose, but you just never know what kind of look it's going to give a team. And for Charlotte Independence, it's given them a bit of a new phase in terms of the ability to go vertical, and Maru's ability to overrun Cheney in that build. And you see it with that vertical ball over the top into space, and Cheney occupying that back 3 and their attention.
Long ball over the end line, goal kick for the Independents.
Now if you're Carolina, how do you respond? How do you need to respond? You have Yoshua Rodriguez, who had been really a great player in this tournament. We haven't heard a lot from Facundo Canetti either in this match, and Jacob Evans. They've had all these set pieces, all these chances to try to score, and they just haven't been able to break them down frequently enough. How do they try to capitalize on their chances down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have an instance where you've done it. So, I mean, just early on in this match, you conceded early and you got yourself back in the game. So there's obviously proof that you have the ability to do it and you could be effective. But I think you make a great point that I don't think they've conceded a corner to Charlotte Independence yet. They've owned that battle with earning a lot of corner kicks and some free kicks in the area, just have unable to get that space and that release they need to test Levy in that situation.
Get ready for another Atlas Chiropractic substitution.
But we saw the possession numbers flip as soon as they conceded early. So do we see the same? Do we see a bit more of that urgency? Now that you're playing from behind, you see a bit more of that pop in possession. It felt like when they equalized, it did slow down just a bit, and the decisiveness kind of dissipated. Does that come back knowing that you have to score now? You have to make it 2-2 to even force the thought of penalties or put it in a situation where you could find a game winner, because you got plenty of time. You're playing the full 30.
Charlotte makes another change, and they make a defensive change as well. Pele Ousmane, the 20-year-old defender from Cameroon, replaces Rafael Haregi.
Yellow card caution shown to number 24, Facundo Canetti.
Canetti picks up a yellow card as well. So we just mentioned him trying to make an impact here, and he instead gets a yellow card.
Here's this foul here, just coming through the back. And to add to obviously we talked about the set pieces with Jacob Evans. Canetti was somebody that we were fully expecting to have a performance that impacted this match. And again, this comes with a balance of giving credit to Charlotte Independence, the way that they've been able to screen passes.
Here's Cheney in. Cheney launches, and it's Pannenberg again stifling the attack.
And now this is the collective numbers that they were missing towards the end of that second half. The ability to be close enough in proximity where they could build off of each other, influence what space becomes available to each other, and now earning their first corner of the match.
And it comes here in the 99th minute. John Baquero, national champion at Wake Forest in 2016, hooks this ball in, and the header is won by Spielman. but no problems for Pannenberg. Carolina tries to break now, closing in on the end of this first extra time window. Small played into space. Levy comes out. He keeps it in play rather than shifting it out.
That was solid awareness by Levy because there was nothing but space in there behind, and especially when your team is the one on the set piece, it's important to stay switched on, and that he did.
Spot in the round of 32 on the line, and a reminder that the round of 32 starting on April 15th will be streamed on Paramount Plus, CBS Sports Network, or CBS Sports Golazo. And all the matches through the final will be on CBS Sport platforms starting on April 15th. 100 minutes in the books in this one. It's 2-1 Charlotte Independence against Carolina Court.
I'm going to re-emphasize the element that the entry of Maru has allowed Charlotte Independence to mix in that verticality. Cheney has done a great job of occupying the defensive line, making sure that they had to be aware of him at all times, but didn't possess that ability to stretch the back line or make them threatened with that space in behind. And with the addition of Maru, that's been a piece that now has opened up this game. You got to deal with Cheney, his hold-up play. Saw the chance he just had. But now you also have to worry about what kind of space you're leaving available in behind with a player like Maru.
Injured player on the field, halts play here for the moment. Last season, Carolina had to come back to win each of its matches in the Open Cup. They trailed 2-1 against Northern Virginia in round one. Second half goals from Polanco and Joshua Rodriguez in the 82nd minute buoyed that victory, and then in round two they gave up the opening goal in the 28th minute before Indoy and Rodriguez again scored.
Nathan Gray, replacing Bashir John.
Charlotte makes another change. It's Nathan Gray, the 17-year-old from Grayson, Georgia, replacing Bashir Njai. This ball over the top. Will there be an angle there? And Zingo has it, and Zingo trying to find a little bit of space. Zayas and Zingo. Juarez dances. Juarez lifts this ball, and it's over the top. That was a pretty good seam, and Levy didn't have a beat on it.
And this is where Carolina Core has really specialized in this match, is the ability to be effective in that second, third, fourth wave of the attack, continuing to retreat Charlotte Independence into their own box. And it's left them opportunities where they sit 10, 12 yards away from goal, albeit at a tight angle where you're in that wide half space. Still, the way Juarez has been hitting the ball, you definitely don't want to allow him the freedom to strike from right there.
Some of these cramps starting to come into play, but one man that I think can argue with anybody about not having to worry about cramps is Mike Jeffries. We talked about his collegiate days at Indiana against Duke in the national championship game. It was that game in the 1985 college national championship game that would go 167 minutes in 85, 155 in Mike Jeffries' campaign in 1982, that forced the NCAA to make a change to go to those 10-minute extra time periods instead of just an endless cycle of overtime windows. Here's Bazaias. Bazaias back for Nzingo. Tries to carve out a little bit of real estate, unable to do so. Over the top this goes. Chica chases. Cheney gets an angle. Cheney hits this. And as he's falling to the ground, unable to put it on target.
Goes wide of the mark. Goal kick for the Foxes.
Physicality here. This little touch by Inga, and then the ability to body out, earn the positioning from Cheney. Just not getting the finish that he wanted, and you could see Maru on that far post saying that he had an opportunity to get in on goal if the pass was played. Those are those instinctual decisions. We saw a number of them throughout the first 90 minutes. When you're on the dribble, you're going at pace. You've got to make those quick, decisive plays. You know, you're always going to have a player or two that put their hand up or know that they could have upgraded opportunities. But those are just things that you take a look at as you continue to evaluate games, evaluate performances. But when you get in the attacking third, that's the worst decision is indecision. And right there, Cheney is decisive with what he wanted to do, just unable to execute.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth official has indicated there will be a minimum of 4 minutes of stoppage time in the first.
4 minutes of stoppage time here in the first extra time window.
Blue Shield of North Carolina.
Charlotte's been really strong in this 15-minute window. 4 shots, 3 on target to 1 for Carolina. And it's starting to inch closer. Carolina have had twice as many touches inside of their opposition box. They've tallied 6 more shot attempts for the match. But Charlotte's been more dangerous. 7 shots to 4 leaders in shots on target. They scored 2 minutes into the game, 3 minutes into extra time. Carolina fired back in the 10th minute on a Joshua Rodriguez goal, his 5th in as many U.S. Open Cup appearances. And the attack for Carolina has mostly centered in set-piece chances. They have 7 corner kicks, a few more set pieces other than that, but just haven't been able to find a solution to Matt Levy.
And Charlotte have been the team that have been better without the ball. They've conceded possession, gotten good numbers behind the ball, and then it only takes one moment to change the game, and that's the moment that they found. They didn't need to lead in shots or possession or shots on target. They just needed to be efficient, and that they've have so far.
Zinga with a long run before it's shut down by Mike DeShields. Canetti tangles up here. Carolina displeased with that whistle. Change coming here for the Corp. Santiago Cambindu replaces Charles. And R.E.A. Miller as well coming in for Chica.
Also coming in, number 99, R.E.A. Miller. For number 2, Daniel Chica.
Cambindu played in that first round matchup, and now these substitutes trying to make an impact here in the last 15 minutes or so of this Open Cup ride. The USL's League One looking to have a representative into the next round. Finals tonight, Columbus Crew 2, 3-0 over Lexington. Tormenta in a fabulous finish against 4-0-3-2. And Miami FC gets a late goal in the final 10 minutes, takes out Inter Miami 2-1-0. Cheney the last to touch. We're supposed to play 4 minutes of added time here. I'm guessing with that change and a couple of these other moments here in the late going, we're going to get a little bit more. And now a yellow card is displayed to Juarez.
This is where you're going to continue to see emotions run high. Players feeling like the ball needs to be available and in play right away, especially when you're the team trailing. Obviously, when you're the team leading, you're going to feel like take all the time you need. You go switch throwers, you'll switch the ball, you'll switch the location, make the referee tell you where you need to take it if you've taken up too much space.
Bazeas unable to carve out some space, and Zingo. Might not be enough time for Carolina to make anything happen at the end of this extra time window. Lorian Zingo. Bazeas. Jacob Evans.
Ladies and gentlemen, there was a yellow card
Miller
issued to the Foxes' number 14, Jathan Juarez.
Bazeas. That's a good ball. Miller tracks it down. Miller thought about the first time hit. Instead, makes it a little bit more difficult. And it's out for a goal kick. And that brings us to the end of the first extra time window. And it's a 15-minute period that you have to credit Charlotte Independence for what they were able to accomplish. They came out soaring. They had a plan. They stuck to it, and they get the goal 4 minutes in.
And you got to imagine that Mike Jeffries and his side are going to talk about and fully understand that they're going to have the kitchen sink thrown at them from Carolina Core. They are going to have additional runners. They're going to have a number of different elements thrown at them in this final 15. I think what's going to be crucial for both these teams is second and third actions. Who wins those second and third actions? Because you know Charlotte Independence are going to have to defend some big moments, but who picks up that second and third ball to define that moment?
Well, it was a long ball from the substitute, John Baccaro, his second ever U.S. Open Cup appearance. And in his third appearance for Charlotte Independence, Swebu Maru. Look at this little finish. Brilliant over the top. Pannenberg aggressive, cannot stop that.
And that vertical element that we've talked about since Maru has come on, and you see that deeper position that Cheney was sitting in, occupying the attention of Carolina Core defenders. And Baccaro picks out the runner, and Maru does the rest. He still had a lot to do on that finish, and just clips that ball over Pannenberg, who had come up with some big reactionary saves throughout the match, just unable to influence that finish.
2-1 is the score for Charlotte Independence after 105 minutes. We'll step out for a quick break. Final 15 minutes, perhaps, comes your way. Can Carolina Core make the comeback? Find out when we come back.
A yellow card caution has been shown to the Charlotte Independence bench. Ladies and gentlemen, we have found a lost phone. If you have lost your phone, please come to the press box. If you're missing your phone, please come to the press box to identify it.
105 minutes in the books. 15 more to go to decide who gets a spot in the round of 32. Charlotte Independence in its 7th match in club history in a U.S. Open Cup, needing extra time, leads 2-1 on the back of Swebu Maru in the 94th minute. Can Carolina find that comeback ability that they had to answer the opening goal in this match? And that came shell-shockingly 2 minutes in to this game. Cheney plays it back, and here we go. Final 15 minutes of extra time to try to decide which one of these two teams, separated by less than 90 miles, will advance into the round of 32. Michael Watring, Eric Dobransky, and our group with you. Thanks so much for tuning in here to the 110th edition of the U.S. Open Cup. Jacob Evans, the captain, funnels this ball out wide. Charlotte will have to do a lot of defending here as this ball is just hammered out of the ballpark. And it goes out for a goal kick. I think if you're Carolina, you played so well for so long, you kind of had a grasp of this game, but ultimately you never could get that second one, and you have to think back. That chance in the 89th minute with Yoshua Rodriguez was unmarked about 5 yards away and just stumbled a little bit and couldn't get enough of the laces on it.
Yeah, and this is what makes this game so unique and so difficult to predict a lot of the times. I mean, you're looking at now how the numbers start to blend in with this game. The XG for Carolina Core, 2.27. Charlotte Independence at 1.36. So you don't need to dominate all the numbers to win the match, and that's where you blend that ability to mix in the identity, the way you want to play, the tempo you want to set, and the chances you want to create. But there's also still moments that you got to go make. And I know when we talked to Donovan Ricketts this week going into the match, we had asked him his team in both boxes, and I know not only upgrading chances in the final third, but converting those chances was a big part of the way he wants to see his team continue to evolve. So we see Levy now down, and you got to hope that he's okay to continue.
Might have gotten clipped there on the right foot as he goes down. It looks like we might be getting a booking there as well. Late games getting ready to start. Monterey Bay
to number 77 of Carolina Core.
And El Farolito getting ready to play, as well as AV Alta and LAFC 2. Those matches closing in on kickoff here over the next 30 minutes of play. Johnny Bazias picked up the yellow card. So he is now the 4th man on Carolina to pick up a yellow today. Only Mike DeShields for Charlotte Independence has picked one up. And time drifting off the clock now. Will there be a Carolina Core uproar to the finish line in this one to force penalties? Or will it be Charlotte Independence winning an extra time for a 2nd consecutive match here in the Open Cup?
Obviously, when you're nursing a 1-goal lead, naturally the talk structurally is going to be about getting yourself in the right position defensively, when you concede possession and you're not going to see the ball, making sure that you've got good support and coverage beyond that. But you also want to make sure that for a team that wants to be in rhythm and have flow to the game like Carolina Core, can you find moments where you disrupt it, whether it's a free kick, whether it's a restart, a throw in, even just the slightest of moments that you can just take that away. You've got to see that as a positive and a plus for you to see this game out.
What a difference it is for Carolina Core. 4-2 win against Soda City in round one. They dominated that, scored the opening 4 goals. If not for a 4-minute window in the second half, would have been a clean sheet. Against Soda City, they had 71% possession in that matchup. Tonight, they have had 61%. Maru doesn't win the race against Covey. Here's Canetti. Juarez. Juarez had the lone shot for the Core in the first extra time window. Ball is taken away. Coming right back to get it, Juan Pablo Rodriguez. Cambindu.
That's going to be the area that Charlotte Independence needs to be careful. When you do regain possession and you want to play fast and you want to find that outlet, you've got to make sure that you connect. And obviously credit to Juan Pablo Rodriguez for the step, but you got to be careful that you don't put your team in a situation where you've committed to go forward, you've committed the numbers to start climbing the field, and then you turn the ball over, and then you leave yourself exposed, especially when you're playing with that 1-goal lead. You're almost better off playing the ball over the top and making Carolina Core completely rebuild and restart from the back.
Mazias. Zingo leaves the ball behind. This ball played over the top. Cheney chases. Pannenberg chips it right back to where it started from. Canetti. Evans right back towards Canetti. Cambindu throws this through, and it's just past Evans. And Donovan Ricketts talked about the assessment of the team inside of the attacking box, and he said, I think we can connect the dots better. Soda City was the anomaly, and I think that's an example right there, connecting those pieces in the attack rather than getting that extra pass and at least trying to create havoc inside of the 18. It just simply goes out for a goal kick.
Yeah, final actions, and he had brought up that up until that Soda City game, well, obviously in the game after that as well, that they've only scored 1 goal. 1 goal against Inter Miami, 1 goal against NYCFC 2. And as you mentioned, kind of pointed out to that Soda City match is the anomaly, the 4 goals. And I mean, they were dynamic in that game. I mean, it just looked so fluid and just so explosive in everything they were doing. And it's had moments like that here in this match. And I think that's why for a 2-1 game, we would say that it's been an exciting matchup. You kind of thought that maybe 2 teams that have seen each other so much in preseason, so much in the build, you might have gotten a stale game because you had 2 teams that were going to kind of set in and not beat themselves. But we've almost gotten the opposite, albeit the scoreline isn't as loud as maybe you'd think that when you saw the flow of the match. But both these teams came out swinging. They came out firing. They've created some good build-up play. They've created some exciting moments. going back to your point, that's going to be an area for Carolina. Can they now link up that final action, be efficient in the execution?
Charlotte trying to put the finishing touches on this. And then again advance to the round of 32. Last season, that's where they got to, losing to Atlanta. 3-0 in that one after winning 3 straight. Ball goes out wide.
Ball played over the end line. It's a goal kick for the Independents.
And collectively, Charlotte Independents have done a great job of bottling up Canetti and Jacob Evans. And when you deal with 2 players that are that elusive and that their ability to play off of any teammate, you feel like that is quite a task, and they're going on doing it for 116 minutes. Once they get on the ball, they've put the appropriate pressure and made it so that they've had to play it off and play teammates, and the inability to get back on the ball. And they've really dictated where both those players have gotten on the ball. They've gotten on the ball 50, 60 yards away from goal, and not right at top of the 18 or giving up a set piece right in front of goal, where we've seen how dangerous and lethal Jacob Evans can be.
Here is Evans. Pushed to the sideline by Nathan Gray. Trying to break lines. Pablo Rodriguez. There's room in front of him. He's electing not to use it. Now tries to fire it through, and unsuccessful. He's the only man down there for Charlotte. Has a runner to his right. It's Maru. Spot in the 3rd round on the line. Those matches will be played April 15th and 16th. Round of 32, May 6th and 7th. And the round of 16 will be May 20th and 21 as this ball rolls past Pannenberg. Yet again, it's another mistake in this back spot. And it's a corner kick here. And so far in this second extra time session, we have not seen a shot for either side.
The miscue here in the back leads to not only a Charlotte Independence corner, but clearly a scenario where you just take as much time off this clock as you can. You get an experienced player and a veteran like Cheney on the ball. His ability to post up and earn another corner. You're just going to keep doing this until Carolina Core can break through. What you do need to make sure that you're aware of is staying switched on, because sometimes behind this play, you can kind of be a bit lax. You can kind of think that everything's kind of sewn up. You're going to be able to predict the next play, but sometimes teams can get out and break on you, and
looks like we're
just
going
need to be
for a
careful.
back from Chick-fil-A. Another corner kick for the Jacks.
Here's Cheney. Once again going to that corner flag. This is great game management right now by the Independents.
And these are the other scenarios and situations that we're always intrigued by coming into a single elimination match in a tournament format. How do you go and manage the match when you're used to a regular season match? Yes, you're chasing some games in the regular season if you're down a goal or down 2-1 and you're making those adjustments to get back in. But when there is no tomorrow in a tournament like the US Open Cup, how do you get those messages across? How do you execute at a high level? And that's where sometimes you see teams stumble, and you see some of the the miscues late in matches, the inability to be collective. But as you mentioned, Charlotte Independence showing terrific game management thus far, earning corner after corner, and then the throw-ins.
That ball rolls back, and Zingo stumbles and gets his team a corner out of it here in the 120th minute.
Corner kick for Carolina Core.
Just opportunistic play from Carolina. Not the link-up play that we've seen throughout this match. It just kind of falls to the feet. And now you earn a corner. You get all these bodies in and around the box. And you need the quality delivery from Jacob Evans.
Evans whips this ball in. Carolina unable to get to that first action. Now Charlotte looking to get this ball out of here as we await the stoppage time number. And there's a foul.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth official has indicated a minimum of 2 minutes of stoppage
2 minutes.
time in second overtime. Stoppage time
Carolina
brought to you
hopes that's a
by Blue
long
Cross
2
Blue
minutes.
Shield of North Carolina.
Just joining us, the match got started with a flurry. Alvarez stole a ball from Pannenberg in the second minute and scored to put the Independents ahead 1-0. In the 10th minute, there was a Juarez cross that found Joshua Rodriguez to make it 1-1. We stayed that way all the way in to extra time when John Picaro found Swebu Maru in the 94th minute. He chips it over the top of Pannenberg to make it 2-1. That's where we sit right now. Carolina 19 shots to 12 leaders. Both keepers have come up with timely, critical stops.
When you're facing the deficit, it is deflating when you see only 2 minutes added. You feel like you have one shot in you, as you tend to see when you see 3 minutes. You think the probability of creating probably 2 chances, one clear cut and then another maybe half chance, is in the cards. But when you see 2 minutes, you know that you might get one, and that one has to be a full chance.
Cheney comes in with a tackle, the foul, and it's going to be a booking as well. There it is. Cheney goes in the books. Christian Cheney, 30-year-old, the most experienced player on the field tonight.
Just reckless here at the end, just going right through Rodriguez.
Yellow card caution shown to number 9, Christian Cheney. In the 130th minute.
Thankfully, Rodriguez is up and able to continue.
Covey moves this across the field. Will there be enough time for Carolina Core to have one more chance to try to tie this match up? It's a throw. Appeals from that Independence bench. And it should have went to their side. Oh, a huge mistake. It slides through the grasp on the throw-in attempt. And Charlotte clinches it in extra time. Charlotte Independence is on to the third round. Swebu Maru's 94th minute goal has the cardiac Charlotte side through yet again in extra time. 2 wins in 2025, both in 120 minutes.
And thank you to Nova Health for sponsoring.
They made plays when there were plays to be made, and that's in both boxes. Levy made big saves. Levy made big saves when he needed to. The defensive back line and the midfielders made the plays when they needed to, did a terrific job controlling that midfield, controlling the tempo, but also controlling what was in front of them. And then obviously the 2 goals came to define this match and were effective and efficient when they needed to be.
Swebu Maru goal in the 94th minute. And a thriller here in the Tar Heel State. See Charlotte Independence advance to the 3rd round. More action coming up later on tonight and tomorrow. Be sure to check out ussoccer.com for all the latest info regarding the U.S. Open Cup. For my partner Eric Dobransky, I'm Michael Watring signing off. Charlotte Independence to the 3rd round. 2-1 winners. Good night, everybody.